Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bitcoin for Fairness series of the Anita Posch show. In this show, we are talking about the role Bitcoin is playing in enabling economic empowerment for individuals and communities by providing fair and open access to a global financial network. My guest today is a pro in this area. It's Nicolas Burtey, the co-founder and CEO of Galoy Money, the company behind the BitcoinBeach wallet that has been used since 2020 and was thrust into the spotlight when Ley Bitcoin, the Bitcoin law in El Salvador, was passed in June 2021. We are discussing the possibilities for communities to use Bitcoin with a focus on shared custody and the learnings from starting BitcoinBeach and the BitcoinBeach wallet in El Salvador. As always, you can watch this interview on YouTube or you can listen to it in a Lightning-enabled podcast app. For instance, use the Breeze Tech wallet or the Fountain app or the Sphinx Chat app. Thanks for supporting the Bitcoin for Fairness initiative. Go out to the Human Rights Foundation, which is uniting the world to stand against tyranny. Leden.io, financial services for holders of digital assets, and OKCoin, the globally licensed cryptocurrency exchange.
Learn Bitcoin will teach you the why and how to use Bitcoin. To safely navigate this financial technology, you'll need the knowledge that this book provides. Jameson Lopp, co-founder and CTO, CASA. Order your copy now at learnbitcoin.link. That's learnbitcoin.link.
Living on crypto is easier than you think with Bitrefill. Choose from over 4,000 gift cards and mobile top-up options from around the world. I used Bitrefill to top up my phone when I was visiting Zimbabwe. It was easy, worked like a charm, and I even earned sats back. Pay with Bitcoin, Lightning, Ethereum, Dash, Tether over Tron, and many more options. No account is necessary. Join the thousands of users around the world who are living on crypto today using Bitrefill. Join now at bitrefill.com and start earning sats back with each purchase. That's bitrefill.com. Hello, Nicolas Burtey. Welcome to the Anita Posch show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Okay, so I would be interested in your Bitcoin story. So when did you find out about Bitcoin and what was so interesting for you?
Yeah, do you want to have the short story or the long story?
The medium story.
Medium story, okay. So I was living in the US, I guess 2017. I had a VR startup. And so I was developing software for video, to make 360 video, and so I was in this ecosystem of virtual reality. And basically, at my company, we were using a lot of GPUs, and so we were buying GPUs. Like all of our software were running on GPUs. So GPU is graphical units that goes into your machine. It's what makes video processing efficient. And the price of GPU start increasing, which is a very unnatural pattern for GPUs. You know, typically they are being released every year. There is a new version, and maybe the high-end GPUs, it will start at $500 at the beginning of the year, and at the end of the year it will be at $400. So like they will decline in price, and then there will be a new version being released, and this cycle will repeat, right? It's like an example where technology makes this more efficient every year, and so the price is going down, and then you have a new version that is more performant, right? But during this year, 2017, the price of GPU had an inverse curve where they become more expensive during the year, which is something that, you know, should not happen unless there is a disruption in the either in the supply side or the demand side. And here the demand was really skyrocketing because there was this miner that was buying all the supply, and we start seeing on VR blogs, so something very unrelated to, you know, cryptocurrency, the idea of, hey, you have this miner on Ethereum that are buying everything they can, and this is how I learned about blockchain, crypto initially, and I was so surprised by the fact that the gaming industry can be disrupted by miner. I had no idea what a miner was. That I wanted to dive more into it to understand why that was the case, right? And so this is my beginning of the journey of crypto. So my first company was, my VR company went down because it was a difficult time in this space at the time. And so I knew that I wanted to go into this new industry that I found fascinating. I went down the rabbit hole fairly quickly. And so I initially, I have a mathematic, background, like more technical background, not economic. So I didn't have this in mind first. And so when I started in this journey, I joined another protocol, not Bitcoin related, more like similar to Ethereum. And I went into this journey to learn about economics while I was there in 2018. But then I understand that actually the real thing in this ecosystem is not crypto, it's really Bitcoin. And so I left the project I joined to really start working full-time on Bitcoin in 2019.
Mm-hmm. And what was the reason? Why? I mean, how did you realize that it's Bitcoin and not crypto?
There is many reasons, but to really understand Bitcoin, the challenge is you need to understand the economic side of things. And like if you're a developer and you don't understand the economic, like it's looking at the other cryptocurrency makes sense. But when you start understanding the economic, the constraint on the supply, for instance, which is key for a store of value, then you start, Bitcoin start to make a lot of sense in my mind. There is also the innovation that was start to happen on Lightning that for me was very insightful, because from the perspective of many other cryptocurrency, the stories that, Bitcoin is this slow, dinosaur, like it has not evolved for the last 13 years. But when you understand what money is supposed to be, like, you want something that is actually stable, that doesn't move much. But when you start to understand that actually it's not because this base layer is not moving much, that, you cannot innovate on layers that is on top of it, like Lightning. And for me was a realization that it's probably the best architecture to have, where you have this like base layer, this slow, very stable store of value, and then maybe on top of it, you with Lightning you can make Bitcoin effectively money by making it very efficient to send and receive payment, for instance. Mm-hmm. But really, it's the key part is learning about economics, like learning about finance, which is something I had no necessary background knowledge before going into crypto.
Mm-hmm. And did you also learn about like Bitcoin, the software? I mean, because I guess you know a lot about it, because otherwise you wouldn't start a Galoy, like a company that's building open source wallets.
Yeah, I mean, when I started working on Bitcoin, I didn't know a lot about, at least Bitcoin Core. I still don't know a lot about Bitcoin Core, if you think about Bitcoin software as Bitcoin Core. But to build a wallet, you don't need to know the intricacies of how, the Bitcoin Core software is being built, because you use it, but you said, okay, what is a block height, and you call some function with an API to this node, but you don't need to know how internally the data structure works, how the code is being architected. You really need, if you want to update, and to bring new functionality at the level of Bitcoin Core. But Galoy is really building application on top of Bitcoin, and knowing the intricacy of Bitcoin Core is not necessary.
Mm-hmm. Which is also actually good to know, I guess, for up-and-coming developers who don't want to work with Bitcoin Core, but then can work on top of Lightning or other second-layer protocols.
Yeah. I mean, we work, with Bitcoin Core, but not inside Bitcoin Core, right? Like, I think is how we should think about it.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think is the most attractive property of Bitcoin?
I think it's best money that humankind have invented.
Mm-hmm. And so how did you come up with the idea to go to El Salvador and found Galoy? Did you found Galoy before, or did you first think, I want to go to El Salvador and support BitcoinBeach? How did this come into place?
So I knew I wanted to work on Bitcoin. I did not know what to do when I said, okay, I want to dedicate, I want to create a company in this space and work on this, right? Initially, I was thinking I will do maybe a banking system in the US, right? Like you can think today in the US there is River or Swan Bitcoin. This is really how I came to think about what should I do. But I also knew that I think Lightning was really the thing I wanted to play with. It was like the new technology that was really, for me, that will be the next step for Bitcoin. And so I wanted to work with Lightning. And if you want to develop a solution in the US, the difficulty, it will be the same in Europe. The difficulty is that you have a lot of regulatory barrier before you can get your project up and running. And in many ways, like the regulatory barrier is much higher than the technical barrier, right? So like you will have to, have a licensing requirement, and you have a lot of things to do that are not necessarily related to how Bitcoin and Lightning works. It's more like if you basically want to accept deposits from other people, like you really getting those people to give you this money, like suddenly you become the custodian of their wealth, or some of their wealth, and it kind of makes sense that there is some barrier to this. But I really come from the technology side of things, where like I wanted to experiment more than spend time with lawyer, right? And so after spending some time trying to do that, I understood that actually it would be a lot more easier to just iterate on the technology first if I was experimenting in a country that had a lot lower regulatory burden than the US had. And the US have the highest, right? Like this is a place where like you have the most agencies and you have the most rules, and it's probably the biggest market in the world, but it's also the one with the most rules and the one with the biggest barrier to entry. And so I was looking for other places where I could work on the technology side of things without having all this licensing requirement. So a developing country would make a lot more sense. And so I did not know where to go, but I listened to a podcast from Mike Peterson. And then I realized that BitcoinBeach sounds to be a great place to like actually work with this community to develop this proof of concept.
Mm-hmm. Then I think in early 2020 you went to El Zonte.
Yes, yeah.
And how can you describe a little bit the story? So the path that led until to the Bitcoin law.
Yeah. So the idea is that I went to El Zonte with my family, spent time there. It was at the beginning of where the wallet was being built. And so the BitcoinBeach project in El Zonte was already trying to deploy Bitcoin in El Zonte. Initially with blockchain.com, then with Wallet of Satoshi. And so basically I pitched them, hey, you could have your own wallet. It will help you on the adoption because you will have a better understanding of, how many people are using it. And also get an idea of the adoption and what merchant may need, that. And if it's not your wallet, obviously you cannot just iterate on it. Like you're dependent on the developers that are making this wallet. And most of the time, the wallets are international, right? So they have no reason to develop features that are specific to a particular country or village. And so I went there to just experiment how this, how the wallet I'm working on is working, and what are the things that need fixing, right? And so if I can use it by myself there, like it's probably the best way to iterate quickly and just make sure the wallet fits the need of the people on the ground. So from here to the Bitcoin law is, I guess, a series of steps, but I think the first thing I can say is that we're not, I think we have been inspirational to the Bitcoin law, but we were not part of the discussion that led to the Bitcoin law. So like we knew that during the Bitcoin 2021, like El Salvador wanted to announce something, but we had no idea what was about to be announced. And the fact that Bitcoin was becoming legal tender, I guess we didn't knew about it before the announcement was made. And I guess a lot of this background story is also after us, Jack Mallor came to also El Zonte, and he did a huge campaign to get people to use a Strike wallet. It was also what was creating a lot of awareness about Bitcoin in the country, and this is why I guess the President Bukele reached out to him and then decided, okay, we might want to work together to bring Bitcoin to El Salvador.
Mm-hmm. But then it turned out to be differently. Like he didn't work with Strike, he didn't work with you. Like the government of El Salvador, I mean. So they built their own Chivo wallet, which is closed source and nobody really knows what's going on behind. What's your take on that?
So there is I don't know a lot of necessarily all the background story about it. So everything I'm saying is what I could understand from communication, typically on Twitter. My take is that the government had a very aggressive timeline to go from the announcements of the Bitcoin law to the law being effective, and it was only 3 months. And why is that so fast? I don't know, but my speculation would be that the President Bukele was thinking that it's maybe better for this law to become effective sooner than later, because the more we wait, the more it is possible that there will be pushback from international entity to say that no, like it's a bad idea to do that. And we actually have seen over the last week or so, the IMF said El Salvador should stop the Bitcoin experiment. What they said, the Bitcoin experiment, and if I guess Bukele was more thinking in terms of how you develop software, he would have said, okay, we need 6 months to develop the wallet, and therefore, maybe the law will become effective. I don't know, end of 2021, early 2022. But I guess the short time frame was not decided by how software should be made. It's more like by maybe political thinking, right? And this is why probably the Chivo wallet was a bit rushed, and there is a lot of issue that I think are being resolved over time, but there is still issue with the Chivo wallet, I believe.
Yeah, you mean like the closed source issue?
Yeah. I mean, closed source, and also there is sometimes you send money from it, and you don't know it's not being credited to your wallet, so there is also an issue related to just the functioning of the wallet.
Okay, let's go back to the BitcoinBeach wallet. So when you started working there, how many people you were working on it and your team? How big was it at the beginning?
So we were 3 at the beginning. So I had another developer working with me, Kartik, and so we were 2 developers, and Chris, also my co-founder, was helping on non-technical things.
Mm-hmm. And how many people started using BitcoinBeach in 2020, 2021 before the Bitcoin law came into effect?
It was in the 1,000, I think.
Mm-hmm. So 1,000 from El Zonte, I guess.
We don't know, but mostly, yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And how did this change then when the law came into effect? How many downloads did you have then, or how many people do you think used it from then on?
So there was a lot of download both during the time the law was announced and during the time the law was passed. But a lot of those download was not necessarily converting to long-term usage. It was a lot of people were maybe curious and maybe they look for Bitcoin on the Apple Store or the Play Store, and they just find the wallet and wanted to have an idea of what is Bitcoin, right? I would say the more long-term usage, build over time. Like so you see during these two events, yes, there is a huge surge of download, but then the regular monthly user is more going up over time, independent of this big spike. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the specialty of the BitcoinBeach wallet is basically that it's not a custodial wallet and it's not really a individual non-custodial wallet. It's something in between. It uses shared custody. Can you tell us a little bit about this model and why it is important for communities in El Sonte or in other maybe developing nations or in areas where people are not that well educated, if I may say so?
Yeah. So it's, if we think about the trade-off, non-custodial versus custodial, there is a lot of, it's not black and white, right? It's really, there is a shade of gray. And the BitcoinBeach wallet is really more on the custodial side than the non-custodial side. But as you said, there is a way the Bitcoin has been stored, which is something we call shared custody. Probably to explain this analogy better, I think it's helpful to explain how an exchange is working. Like think of the big exchange like the Coinbase, Kraken of the world. The way they work is they store a lot of Bitcoin for their user, sometimes hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin. And of course, they want to have the maximum security for those Bitcoins. So what they use is a multi-sig, where there is in different geography, people have, some people within the company have one key. And so it might be even on different continents, right? Maybe there will be some key holder in Europe, maybe some key holder in North America. And so to spend those funds, basically we need to have different people that come to sign like a transaction. And maybe it's 3 out of 5. And so the idea is that 3 people should sign the same transaction for this fund to move out. And this is how we achieve maximum security to secure the Bitcoin, is to get this distributed key signing, if you want. But one of the downside of this is, as an exchange, you also have people that are sending Bitcoin and withdrawing Bitcoin all the time, right? Every minute, every 10 minutes, like there will be people that, hey, like I have, $500 in Bitcoin, I want to redeem it. But you don't want to have this very secure storage multi-sig, to have to sign a key every time someone wants to withdraw a couple of $100, because then first, like it will be cumbersome, it will be slow, and maybe it will also hinder the security, because if people are used to sign transaction every minute, like they will not really think as much about it versus if they have to do it one time a week. And so the model that an exchange have is that they have maybe 99% of their fund is this very secure multi-sig cold storage. The keys are not on a computer, like it's in a vault, it's very protected. And there is 1% of the fund that is in what we call a hot wallet. And those funds are in a computer, so if the computer that hosts those Bitcoin will be compromised, those funds could be stolen. But it's a good trade-off, so that like if someone wants to redeem their Bitcoins, they don't have to wait. They can just have their Bitcoin in the next 10 minutes. And basically what we are doing with BitcoinBeach is we're producing this architecture where on one hand we have this multi-sig in cold storage for maximum security of the Bitcoin, and on the other hand we have this hot wallet where if you want to pay for a coffee and you want to send 2,000 sats over Lightning, you don't need to have people signing manual transaction in different geographies. But now the interesting thing is that who can be the key holder of this multisig. So let's say we have a 3 out of 5 multisig, and what a 3 out of 5 multisig means is that there is a total of 5 keys, but to move the Bitcoin, you need to have at least 3 keys sign a transaction, and if those if the maybe I should not enter too much into the detail, but if 3 people sign independently, then we can move the fund. The idea that in a company like maybe Coinbase or Kraken, this will typically be people from this company, right? From Coinbase will be signing it, but there is no need for that. You can also distribute those keys to different independent key holder. And in the case of BitcoinBeach, you can say maybe it should be different people in the community that are known in the community and that also understand how Bitcoin works. Like they need to be fairly they need to have a good understanding of how multisig works and how Bitcoin works because the day they have to sign a multisig, they should know how to do it, and if something is wrong, they should understand that something is wrong and maybe do not do anything and wait until they have clarity about what is happening.
And they also have the responsibility to store the keys safely and don't lose them. Yeah. And so what I'm interested, so the BitcoinBeach wallet, I thought it's a Lightning wallet only, but now I seem to understand it's also a Bitcoin blockchain, like base layer wallet, because you have the keys, the seed. And can I use it with a hardware wallet combined to have cold storage?
So there is, you can think of the wallet as 2 different layers. So there is a layer of the end user. And from the end user perspective, so if you go there, you download the wallet on the Play Store and you use it to pay for your coffee. From this perspective, it's a Lightning wallet. It's a custodial wallet. This wallet you can send on-chain, you can send on Lightning, you can receive on-chain, you can receive on Lightning. And we also have a smart routing system where if you show me a QR code, an on-chain QR code from the BitcoinBeach, and I pay you from BitcoinBeach. Actually, we don't use on-chain because we know that the wallet knows that, okay, this address I'm supposed to send Bitcoin to is actually belong also to me. So I can just do what we call an intra-ledger transaction. We don't need to use a chain, basically, in that case. And so we have 3, way to think about it. There is intra-ledger, not using actually any Bitcoin-related protocol. We can use Lightning or we can use on-chain. But this is the experience from the end user. From what we call the bank owner, so the person of the group of person managing the wallet, then there is 2 aspects. There is a multisig, which is on-chain, and it's where keys are not on the server. And there is also the hot wallet, which is both a Lightning wallet and an on-chain wallet, where the keys are on the server.
Okay, understand. So, I don't know if that's a clever question, but so if I'm an individual holding my keys at the moment on one hardware wallet, single seed, and I want to go into using multisig, would it actually be an idea to use the BitcoinBeach wallet and then look for friends or family or partners I trust and tell them to hold the multisig for me, be my community members, basically?
So you don't want to use the Galoy stack for that. In that case, what you might want to do is to use Spectre desktop, and you can go from so first, in that case, the use case you describe is a non-custodial use case. It means that I have my key, I know how to manage a hardware wallet, and now maybe I want to go in a stage where I have even higher security from where I am today. Having multisig is, if done properly, is higher security than single sig, because then your key are distributed in different places. And you can get your friend to help you to maintain some of the keys. That's typically a good idea. If you want to do that, you can use Spectre Desktop, which is actually what we use for multi-sig solution. So when they need to have a transaction being signed on the backend, it's Spectre. So it's a hosted version of Spectre where people could just, depending on their hardware wallet, they could just go on it and sign it. And
Okay, understand. So what was my next question? What I'm interested also, now I saw that on your website now you're also offering the BitcoinBeach wallet in other forms for companies. Is that right? So what's the idea here?
So the first thing to have in mind is BitcoinBeach is an implementation of the Galoy stack. So the Galoy stack is really the software that the BitcoinBeach is running. But for instance, you have a community in Costa Rica that is called Bitcoin Jungle, and they have their own wallet. And if you go to the Play Store, or you will see Bitcoin Jungle, and you can download it. And it's more or less running the same code as BitcoinBeach wallet, but they have their own keys, they have their own backend, they have their own wallet. It's running the same code, but it's everything else is segregated because they have their own, they maintain their own wallet. And maybe it's something that doesn't exist today in the Bitcoin system, right? Because today every wallet is typically being launched only once, so there is no difference between the source code and the implementation, right? But here basically we're trying to develop like a generic wallet system that if you want to have your own wallet and you have a large audience and you could say, hey, I want to have the Anita wallet, and maybe I'm living in this country where it's legal to have this wallet, and I want people to use it. I know how to handle the security and things like that. It will be Anita wallet, and it will be maybe similar to the BitcoinBeach wallet, but it will be for your own community.
And so if someone is listening and wants to start his or her own community, what are the most important things to know and learn?
So it depends on what is your goal, right? Like if your goal is to get people into Bitcoin, but you are not a technical person, like you could start with a meetup. You can start a meetup and you can have people get interested into Bitcoin, for instance. And if you want to have your own wallet, it's very different. The bar is much higher because now you're asking people to give money to the wallet and manage it, and so the technical level required to get there is much higher. And I don't think it should be for everyone should want their own wallet, right? It's only if you want to have a larger scale project and you envision that it will benefit thousands of people to have a community wallet, then you can go into this if you have the technical knowledge to do it. But if your goal is to say, your family, you want to help your families, and you're thinking about a group of maybe 10 people, then what we are developing it's too complex to just like a very small group of people.
Understand. So if someone wants to start a community in anywhere, I don't know where, then he or she needs to have really advanced technical knowledge about Bitcoin, Lightning Lightning nodes, Lightning channel, managing Lightning channels and liquidity and things like that, right?
Yes, a lot more than just this, yes.
More than just this. Yeah. Okay, wow. Okay, understand. Okay, so I've seen on the website that the BitcoinBeach wallet also has intra-bank transfers. Is this something different than what you meant with intra-ledger? No, not intra-ledger. What you said before, you can go. Yeah. So what are intra-bank service transfers?
I think we meant intra-ledger, so we're probably talking about the same thing. That said, there is a work in progress that is on the Galoy stack, which is to have fiat on-ramp, fiat off-ramp, and this should be here in a few weeks. So the general idea is that and this is a learning from what has happened in Edzonte, is that the idea is in Edzonte, why was it a very good place to bring Bitcoin is because 70%, if not more, in Edzonte of the population were unbanked. And the reason they were unbanked is because for a bank, there is too much regulatory overhead to open a bank account for someone that doesn't have enough wealth, because the cost of opening a bank account is higher than how much money they could earn from that user. And it's really a factor of a lot of the regulatory overhead that I talked, initially. And it's because El Salvador uses the US dollar, which have this very high bar regulatory wise. But if you come up with permissionless money, you don't necessarily have to have this high bar, right? And so people can just own Bitcoin without doing necessarily like extensive KYC, right? If you go to the Play Store and you download a wallet and someone is willing to send you Bitcoin, then you can have your bank account is here. But of course, the downside of Bitcoin, if you need the money in the short run, is the volatility. Because if you receive $100 of Bitcoin, but 2 weeks later, this $100 are worth $50, and you need to spend it now to pay for your rent, then there is a problem if you don't have enough money because the price of Bitcoin dropped. And the general idea is that if we can come up with a solution that works on Lightning, so I can send and receive Lightning, because Lightning is really the payment protocol of Bitcoin, right? If I want to send you $10, on-chain Bitcoin is not great, but Lightning Bitcoin is a perfect solution, right? It's permissionless, and I can send you money. You receive it instantly. You don't have to wait. Like it's just the perfect payment protocol. But no, okay, maybe you don't want to receive $10 in Bitcoin. You want to receive $10 in dollar and keep it in dollar, right? But if you want to be compatible with my wallet, which is Lightning wallet, no, like you need to have a Lightning enabled wallet that settle in USD. And this is what we are working on with our like thinking about bringing USD to the wallet. It will be, you can send and receive USD, but through Lightning.
Mm-hmm. A little bit like in the Strike wallet.
Yes.
But without KYC need.
So whether you did KYC or not will be, you will be able to decide on the implementation side. So we're working with some other projects that are not yet public, but like in the jurisdictions they operate, they need KYC, and so you will have to do KYC before you can use the wallet. But if you want to deploy the wallet in a place that doesn't need this regulatory, this KYC check, then you don't have to. It's really depending on where your wallet is operating.
Mm-hmm. How important is privacy for you as a developer of a wallet like that?
It's important, but at the same time, we're really building a custodial wallet, right? And so if privacy is on top of your mind, like you might not want to use a custodial wallet, right? You might want to use a privacy-oriented wallet. So for me, privacy is important. But the way I think about it is, if you think about Edzonte again, like we are giving access to those people for the first time. We're giving them a banking solution. Prior to that, they have to use cash for everything they do, right? And when you are only using cash for your store of wealth, basically you cannot really store any wealth, right? And for them, privacy is not really their concern, right? When you are in a place where you need money for cover your living expenses, and at the end of the month, like you don't know if you will have enough money, like you don't think about privacy that much, right? And so privacy is pretty much a concept that is very important, like in the US or in Europe. But maybe in developing country, at least it depends of where, which type of jurisdiction, but it may not be as important.
I think it's very important, but the thing is that people don't have the time, neither the money or the luxury to protect themselves. So I think that's even more important to build in these privacy protection possibilities from our Bitcoiner side. But as you said, of course, for a semi-custodial wallet, it's difficult. Then you need to use a privacy-oriented wallet. Yeah, so that's another possibility.
And I guess there is the mission that we are on is to make it very straightforward to develop your own wallet, in your own village or city or jurisdiction generally. And if we reduce the cost of creating your wallet to zero or close to zero, one of the, benefits privacy-wise is that if in 5 years from now there is 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, very small bank running on our tech stack or some other tech stack, right? Because it will be small, it's also much better than to have 10,000 small banks versus having maybe 5 gigantic bank, Goldman Sachs and Citi, and so this is also maybe how it could improve privacy is by having those wallets spread around at a small scale in terms of having a few big wallets.
Yeah, right. It's also interesting. Yeah. So I was talking with Josh Young from News Story the last time, and he told me that they are building houses in El Zonte at the moment for homeless people, and that they are giving out the first Bitcoin-backed mortgages. And also you're working together with them. What is it what you're building here?
Yeah, so it is to. So the reason News Story is able to do those mortgages also because the cost for them to collect the money has been going low as a result of people who only had cash before now they can pay money with a wallet with a phone, and so it means they don't need to have someone that goes there and try to collect the money and stuff like. No, they're using digital tooling that reduce the cost, which is great because if you want to collect $50 right every month, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have someone go there physically and maybe go there back if the money is not here or something like that, right? Because it will take a non-insignificant part of the money you're trying to collect. But by making this digital, they're able to make this mortgage effectively less costly, and so people can afford a home, which is a key part of it. And so the way we work with them is to help in the BitcoinBeach wallet, help people that need to send money for the mortgage, do it very efficiently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great project also. I'm excited to hear from all these developments. And one question is also, what's the business model for Galoy? So how do you earn money?
So the general idea is that if let's say you want to have your Anita wallet, right? And you have a community, you think your community will benefit from having your wallet, and you also have a business model around it. You could use our code base, so you could go on github.com/Galoy Money and just fork our repository and deploy it. And if you're technically savvy and you have a small team, you could do it on your own. But if you would like to have your wallet, but you don't have the technical expertise, you could hire us to help you do that.
Okay, so it's the classical open source software company business plan in a way.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, cool. So, and what are the future plans for you in the next, let's say, 1 year?
I already mentioned about it. So on our side, bringing USD to the wallet, to the stack is, I guess, something that is important and we're working on. There's a lot of other things we are working on. for instance, we currently have a mobile wallet, but we're also working on a web wallet. So the idea is that if you don't want to install mobile application, you could just go to an URL and you can send and receive Bitcoin from a URL, like it's another application we're working on. Generally, we are trying to make it easier to deploy your own wallet. Currently, you need to be very technically savvy to do it. And we're doing a lot of work to try to make it easier, right? To reduce the barrier, basically, to create your own wallet.
Interesting. Okay, so another question now, more general, one of the last questions. What do you think do most people overlook in the public when they talk about Bitcoin? Or what is a misconception in the media and on Twitter, for instance, about Bitcoin that bothers you the most?
Well, I think this is changing, and this is how Galoy was founded, is really the idea that Lightning is what makes Bitcoin money.
So the belief still that Bitcoin is like heavy, it's slow, it's expensive to move, and it's just digital gold.
Yeah, and Lightning make it, you go from digital gold to, and digital gold is, I think, is the most important invention of Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin doesn't need to necessarily become money, because I think it's like store of value that is independent of every nation state is have a strong reason to be here. But if we can also not only have digital gold but have money, then it's allow places like El Zonte to suddenly rely on it as money, which I think is very powerful.
Yes, it is. Thank you for that. So thanks, Nicolas. Where can people find and follow your work?
So Twitter is probably the best place. Nicolas Burtey, I'm sure you will put it in the show note, and also GitHub, same handle. Okay,
then thank you very much. Have a good day, and see you soon, I hope.
Thank you, Anita.
That's it. Thanks for joining again, the Anita Posch Show. Please subscribe to my podcast feed or here on YouTube. A special thank you for supporting the Bitcoin for Fairness initiative goes out to the Human Rights Foundation, which is uniting the world to stand against tyranny. Leden.io, financial services for hodlers of digital assets, and OKCoin, the globally licensed cryptocurrency exchange.